Hello, here today at Crypto Finder. I'm Andrew, and we are joined by Hanwen, Grants Manager from Zilliqa.
Yeah.
I understand things are going a mile a minute for Zilliqa right now.
Yes.
There's a lot going on. What's your favorite?
Well, thanks for having me here. It's good to have a chat with you on what we have been doing so far. So right now for Zilliqa, we have launched the mainnet and everything has been released since June. We're constantly updating and optimizing the platform, and that's for the technical side. And for the adoption side, we have several initiatives that we are doing, especially within Singapore, because we're based here. And there are programs that are running concurrently. One of them is the grants program that I'm managing. I'm the grants manager at Zilliqa. We have about 54 projects running within the grants program, and now it's already on the 5th wave of it, so it's a 1-year anniversary of it. And we are launching a new initiative called Zilhive Accelerator Program to accelerate businesses who wants to go through a 3 months intensive course, get to the point of time where they can seek out external fundings on the demo day, and then present their ideas to not just the Zilliqa community, but to the wider blockchain community. And this initiative is going to start in 1st of October. We have selected the 5 teams that will be participating in it, and it will be announced then. And then you have this program running until the 20th of December, where the demo day will be happening. 16th of December, where the demo day will be happening. That's one of the few, the second initiatives that we are running. And the last initiatives that we are running is education. So we realize there's always a lack of education. That's why there's always a lack of talent within the blockchain space. That's why we are setting up initiatives within Singapore and also in Vietnam to create a very structured curriculum for developers who want to learn blockchain development, learn about Zilliqa, learn about our design language, Silla, and to create the smart contract within a very structured context to build up an applications together with the this course mates, and then at the end of it become a qualified developer. So these are the 3 initiatives that we've been running, and we are constantly progressing towards it. By the end of the year, most of these programs will be done, and we can see the results then.
Yeah. So you mentioned you have 54 grants currently in operation. Is that right?
Yes. So 54 grants running so far, but the operation on running currently we have about 13 projects, I think. The others are completed. Either completed or some of them have forfeited. But our completion rate right now is about 80%. So that's we are trying to improve that metric to see whether we can try to make sure that everyone can complete their projects within the timeline and deadline they have stipulated with us.
Yeah.
That's a work in progress, but 80% is still doable for me.
Makes a big difference, I imagine, just having this much more ecosystem development going on.
Yes. Holding everyone accountable within the grants program is something that we must definitely do, because you can't just give money out when not expect them to do the work, because that's something that we have to manage.
There's been a little too much of that in cryptocurrency historically, hasn't there?
Yeah, that's something that sometimes this community it's really maturing really quickly, and this whole year everyone became more realistic, and it's getting better. I would say that people know exactly what is the pain points this blockchain world is having, and everyone is not as like too optimistic about everything to say that everything can work. We are more like Singaporeans. We are more practical, I'd say.
Yeah. Do you think the grants program is largely focused around addressing these pain points
Yes,
of blockchain?
but the grants program can only function as much. We are trying to establish a whole pipeline right now, because grants, normally you can only sponsor like proof of concepts or tools and libraries, things that cannot be really commercialized. So we are trying to build a pipeline towards the point of time that it can actually become a true product company. Yeah, that's something that we are working on. So right now we have the pipeline from grants program, and then we have the Zilhive accelerator program that's in the middle. And there's a last stage that we are constantly trying to work on, where we can create some kind of venture funding to fund them beyond the pre-seed stage. So the seed stage and post-seed stage is something that we are looking at really intently right now. And post-seed stage, maybe bigger firms can take on responsibilities. Like, for example, Sequoia, you have your in Singapore, there are several different kinds of venture fundings that are traditional. We're trying to entice them to come into the blockchain world too.
Yeah, I imagine there's already a lot of interest in the blockchain world from many of these venture funds. Do you think Zilliqa itself as a platform is positioned very well to attract a lot of interest?
Well, we created this product, Zilliqa, and also Silla, as a layer below to create it's like an analogy would be like, this is the highway for people to build applications on top of it. But on top of the highway, you definitely need several other toolings. And we believe that we have offered the really rock solid ground with a scalable platform that scales with the network expansion. Because as small nodes, you should theoretically have more shards, more parallel processing of transactions, and more transactions throughput. Then we have created Silla with a back idea that we want to prevent the fundamental flaw in smart contracts right now, which is bugs. We can create that environment with something called the formal verification of smart contracts, and that's what Silla was built towards too. You can do formal verification with several other languages, but taking into account of like what this has already been achieved in this industry so far, is that there's only one formally verified contract, and that's MakerDAO, and it took them a year to do that. It's because it's not like very friendly towards that. That's why we don't build something that's extremely friendly towards that. They can shorten the time span of 12 months to do formal verification to 1 month. That will shorten the time required, and also the manpower required for doing such things. And that's what we think going ahead is the rock solid bait for everything we'll develop on top. And layers on top, we are definitely working with other core ecosystem partners in order to build higher and higher level technical stacks. And we believe that these technical stacks are required before you can reach the phase where everything in the ecosystem can flourish. Like, for example, financial applications. You have DeFi running on Ethereum. You can also have DeFi running on Zilliqa. And these toolings that are below, sandwiched in the middle, at the meat of everything is really a B2B SaaS model. And everyone in the ecosystem can actually come together to build it.
So visualizing it, you have Zilliqa on the base level. Then above that, you have the generally non-commercial tools created through the grants program.
And also B2B. So they are B2B models, but they don't face the consumers at all.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I think it is.
Then as you move further up this stack, you get closer towards the consumer-facing applications.
Yes.
Is this where you see the investment being focused down the line?
I believe that we are not at the stage where B2C model can work yet, because there's too many pain points in crypto. Onboarding is a pain. KYC, AML is also a problem. So B2C right now, I don't see it as a point where we can approach it and venture funds will be interested in yet. But B2B wise, the middle layer, it's where long-term investment should be at. And there's a lot of interest, I believe, in companies that do chain analysis, for example. There's one of the few sandwich middle. And they have a B2B product that they sell to companies that's B2C. and that's where I think the investment normally are subsided right now, and we have a lot of there's a lot of interest on with funds right now, and for us, we are the ones who is trying to provide the first two stages of the pipeline, and then transfer the products that we think are potential to people who have the funding to take them on to the further stage. Yeah, that's the goal of this platform right now.
And I guess the education, the Silla dev courses, and all this, getting people just to use a programming language, encouraging people to just independently build their own applications within any part of the stack. Is that also part of the focus of Zilliqa right now?
Yes. So that's education initiatives wise. We have this tribe code coming up, which is the developer course that we're trying to develop. It will be held in concurrent with other programs also. So Tribe Code is set up by a tribe accelerator in Singapore, and they are working with academy school called Upcode Academy to create this course, and they will be giving out these courses to not just Singaporeans but also Vietnamese. So there's two strategic regions that they are looking at, and that's one of it. The second initiative is the blockchain A to Z that's created by our education manager, Cyber. Cyber is leading this development marketing initiatives, and he already created this course structure last year, and he ran it on KCL at King's College London, and this year he's taking it on not just in King's College but also to Cambridge, to Oxford, to all the UK universities, and that's what he's planning to do in October. If you like to, I can connect you with him, and then you can have more chat with him on all his initiatives, pipelines.
That would be interesting. Do you think there's a lot of interest from educational institutions in being able to find these courses to teach their students about blockchain? Very high growth industry by many measures.
Yes, that's a lot of interest, especially within the European schools, and also with the ASEAN schools. Like for UK, UK is a fintech zone, I would say. They try to leverage on technology to try to make themselves more enticing as compared to other Eurozones. That's why they have a lot of education initiatives, and that's why we managed to bring this blockchain A to Z thing to them, and they accepted this concept. And in Singapore, there's also a lot of courses that they are running right now. There are a lot of online courses, mock courses, to try to touch on points where physical courses cannot do. And Singapore, there's several universities that's trying to create a blockchain course within their curriculum, like university curriculum, to reward the students points for attending such courses. I think in general, I'm seeing that there are more acceptable, like acceptability of blockchain within the academic space. People are viewing it more as a more legit kind of sector. They are more peer reviewed. They're coming in. Cardano is doing a great job with IOHK. We are also trying to get peer reviewed for our stuff, and we have a language paper that's accepted in Uppsala, one of the biggest programming courses. I think this kind of things are just basically what we are trying, what the whole industry is trying to do, to become more legitimized and be accepted all around the world.
Yeah. I think a lot of the peer reviewing in the space has been very focused on Bitcoin. Even as recently as 2015, 2016, it was being regarded as this radical new technology.
Yes, I really like the way that the Bitcoin community is doing things. They're always very meticulous about it being a little bit slow with the development. There are a few players in this space that are trying their best to perform this kind of acts of to help to legitimize the space. Bitcoin community is one. The Cardano, the Tezos community is one. Our community is also trying to do that. So we will try to consolidate this. I believe that this space is too little for and constrictive to be a winner takes all right now. It really relies on everyone working together. I don't believe maximalism can work in a space like this. If everyone just tries to outpace each other and not work together, then this community has very little chance of trying to establish itself properly in the outside world. The world is a lot bigger, and there's a lot of lessons that we can learn from the other sectors.
Yeah. So, I understand Silla is built specifically to work across multiple blockchains. It's not Zilliqa exclusive. You can write Silla code on all kinds of things.
And it's open source. So as long as people adhere to the GPL v3 license, which is everyone who has modified the code has to open source it too, then this community should be able to flourish. And that's what the goal of an open source community is supposed to be. Collaboration and then bring the best minds together.
Yeah. Do you think this does have implications for, I guess, a future of cross-chain compatibility solutions, as well as high throughput blockchain protocols such as Zilliqa itself? Do you think this kind of vision for the future suggests a certain path of development for either of these two things?
So, can I get a question again? I didn't really get it.
Yes, I break it in two parts. Makes more sense.
Okay.
Do you think this vision of the future does have implications for the development of cross-chain compatibility solutions going forwards?
Okay, so cross-chain compatibility solutions is definitely something that everyone should work together to. I believe that right now the ecosystem is lacking some sort of like alliance where people can communicate standards to each other, and that's something actually I find it really unhappy about. I feel that this whole space should really come together to develop standards and make sure that standards are actually interoperable. We've been seeing too many people building out their own solutions, trying to outpace each other, and most of it is trying to compete in terms of coin price. And I don't like this kind of toxic environment that people are trying to establish itself within the space. If we can't work together to establish a standard, we will never be taken seriously. And at Zilliqa, we have tried our best as much as possible to be always impartial, to not to have too much biasness towards any other technology providers. And we believe that working concurrently as a group will be great. And that's how we can flourish together. There's several players that are actually doing that. Binance is doing a great job with research, Binance research, and we have been trying to reach out to them also to understand what their ideas to establish such collaboration is supposed to be. Industry-wise, I believe that we are slowly working towards that goal.
So it's an interesting problem, and does someone need to spearhead the growth of collaboration in the space rather than competition?
Yes.
If someone doesn't that risk putting them trying to insert their own more favorable standards as the de facto standards?
Yes.
For example, I believe the International Standards Organization is working on blockchain standards.
Yes.
Do you think this does run the risk of someone trying to co-opt the future of the technology for their own ends through these standards?
I believe that there is a good initiative for the international standard community to chip in. If it's managed to reach out to all the major players within this whole community and understand the pain points and work together with them, I don't believe that there's a co-op, as you say, that is trying to take over. Standards within the space could evolve. You can have new standards coming along to replace the older ones, and there are already a good consensus, I think. If we take an example, is that ERC20 standards is adopted widely. Even is replicated among all the different chains. TRC20 from Tron is a copy of ERC20, which is not a bad thing. It's a good thing because you're just adopting the standard. We are also adopting the ERC standard by changing it up, but just aligning it to the Silla language. So we shouldn't reinvent everything from scratch, but we should build upon that standard and check out what's the points that has been showing after like a few years of experiment, and then reach out to each other again, collaborate. It can be a slow process, but it's definitely necessary.
Yeah. Do you think that's an obstacle in itself, that the development of these standards takes place at a slower rate than the development of the technology that we're trying to standardize?
Yes, that's the issue. And too many new ideas, too many people trying to create new things without getting peer reviewed, and it's just same mistakes making again and again. I think that's one pain point in this industry right now. It's moving at a really fast pace, which is good. Innovation is flourishing, but also at the same time we have been trying to clash hate with each other and not learn any lessons yet.
Yeah. I suppose the digital island problem is a real issue, standing in the way of mass adoption of blockchain. Do you see any good way of solving this, of just getting things standardized and speeding up the pace at which we can formulate new standards?
I believe that with bigger players' help, we can actually do that. People who are key players within the industry, like Binance, for example. Like, for example, the Ethereum Foundation is one of them. IOHK is doing good with peer review. And if everyone just sit together on a table, in a round table, to discuss things, try to come up with like an alliance, just like how Ethereum Enterprise Alliance is like, but including to be more inclusive of everyone being agnostic of blockchains, then we can definitely do that. It will take time to establish that. We will try to drive initiatives on our end to talk to people. We are always friendly with people. We don't try to bash them for their ideas, but with our lack of manpower, we are not as big as the other teams are. It's best to try to work with them as an equal partner.
Yeah. But even companies like Binance, obviously a crypto giant, but relatively small compared to many more traditional financial institutions. Do you think the more traditional financial institutions, large companies outside the crypto blockchain space, do you think if they moved in, that could help cement standards through their sheer scale?
Yeah, I think so too. Like that's a good point to touch on. Like that's I believe that that's one of the coolest thing that the traditional community has done traditional business have done so far is that Deloitte, if I'm not wrong, is Deloitte that have launched Nightshade recently, which is like a CK Snark standard on Ethereum. There's something that should be replicated among different blockchains, and that's definitely something that that is encourageable. There are definitely key players coming in with much bigger resources. There's huge giants like JP Morgan. You have all the financial. You have your consulting firms, all the four major consulting firms, all having their own blockchain divisions. These are things that we can see in conferences. You can see the booth everywhere. So these are the big players. I think they will be coming in, and they are definitely people who can drive change within this industry, and I believe that they have a lot of leverage.
You think there is a risk involved, though? I think a lot of people would be concerned about these larger players trying to co-opt what is meant to be a decentralized, fully open type of technology for their own ends, rather than for the purposes of building an alliance of sorts.
It's really a two-way street. Sometimes having a governing body is good, because without the governing body, everything would be in chaos.
Yeah.
But sometimes having a governing body also means that everyone has to subscribe to that belief and motto. and if they don't, they will be considered as dissent. So it's really a touchy point. I would say the balance between these two must be really well played out. Having bigger players within the space shouldn't make them have bigger say, but they should have a say too, an equal say.
Yeah.
And I hope that this is something that could play out. The market need to understand that that this has to be an equal placing. The traditional space cannot just overtake it, just like it. If that does happen, then this whole space I don't think will flourish as much as it has did. So that's something that I think must happen, which is equal standing.
So that suggests some kind of governance system would have to be at the heart of any kind of blockchain alliance.
Yes. I'm really disappointed when we saw the Libra associations and see that there's actually no blockchain companies within it. So it's
Coinbase, Anchorage, Bison Trails.
I mean the projects.
All right, yeah.
So we are not none of the like Binance or even Ethereum Foundation is included in it. This Move paper was written as a peer review. It's not really a peer review paper, and it didn't seek out the community, like the IOHK community or even from us, to get their reviews on how their language works. It's only after they release it then they do it. I think that this is something that I believe that they should have done, but that's only my opinion. I'm like a small player here, so.
I guess you're saying Libra kind of open-washed their development process. They pretended to be more open and open source than they really were about the whole thing.
After that, they have been reaching out to more people, and we have been reaching out to them to have to review their language. And so one of the articles that we have posted out, along with multiple articles that the Ethereum community has done too. That's only after that it seems to be better, but it should be beforehand, I feel. But it's fine. It's already out. It's post incident, so it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
But I hope that going forward in future, whenever people comes out with new solutions, they can always ask this space. But I think there's also another problem, which is that they can't reach out to them because they don't know who they are. So having a consortium might be a better thing.
Yeah.
So they can just reach out to the consortium founding members, or then they can reach out to everyone.
And you might run the risk of stagnation again.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the usual human cycle.
Human cycle, yeah. Governance will be slow, but no governance will be fast, but everything will be breaking.
Yeah.
So
the house of cards, right? You need the governance, you need the standards before you can get the users. You need the users before you can cement the standards.
Yeah, it's a
someone
chicken
just
and egg
put them together.
Yeah.
Yeah, super fascinating. So what's next for? How long do you think it will be between now and the end of the year? For what kind of results do you think? So let me rephrase that. I guess what kind of results are you expecting to see between now and the end of the year for Zilliqa, and going into the next year? What are some of the things on the radar you're looking forward to?
Okay, so there's a multiple questions. I think for different teams that have different goals. The technology team is planning to launch an upgrade next week to optimize the platform, and that will be the last major upgrade for the year for the platform. And that will be considered an efficiency optimization, and also to address all the several bugs that is alarming to us. So that's for the technology front. And throughout the next few parts of the year, we have a technology roadmap that we have released that we can take a look online. That what we want to work on from now on, after September upgrade to the next year, September 2020. So for the business front, right, by the end of this year, we want to see the middle layer to be built out with different partners. So we have key partners with several people like experts to build up payment solutions. We have the partnership with MindShare to try to build out some of the middle layers, like for example KYC, ML. Then we have a HC exchange that are helping to do custody solutions in the middle layer. We are trying to work with several other chain analysis providers, reaching out to them to see whether they are interested in working with us. Right now we got some feedback from them, and we're trying to provide them as much documents as possible so that they can feedback more to us and see whether we can establish this working relation. We are also working with some strategic investments within the space. Those grantees that we found really very promising, we have decided to invest big on them to try to make them have enough runway for a year so that they can build out their product. One of them will be Moonlit, which is a wallet, just like it's an agnostic wallet, functions just like MetaMask, but they provide an integration of tools and services with several third-party providers. So it's something that we're trying to do. The visualization tools of API solutions, everything, different kind of relational database to try to link everything together. It's something that we are also working on. Yeah, this whole sandwich layer in the middle is something that we want to finish as much as possible. Hopefully, now we are 20% done. By the end of the year, we hope we are about 70 to 80% done. Wow. So we can, at that point of time, we can launch things like hackathon, workshops, basically huge developer-facing events where they can come and use these services in the middle, and also use the ground layer that we provide, the robust one, then build their applications and test everything out as much as possible, stress test everything, and then we can see the fruitions of everything that we've built so far.
Yeah, sounds like when you have this whole big sandwich you're building, adoption might snowball pretty quickly once you put the final layer of bread on the top.
Yeah, the idea is that the top layer for B2C applications developer, they only have to think about their product and not think about all the things that they have to fulfill under it. You can't build a product and just keep thinking about whether am I doing this properly, whether I have any tools to do to handle the different like interoperability solutions, or whether I have to do a layer 2 to settle things under off-chain first between setting. These are all the things that people shouldn't be worrying about. Yeah, they should only focus on their product, and that's what we want to provide as a service in the middle.
It's coming right up by the sounds of it.
Yeah.